Observability has expanded quite a bit from metrics, logs, and traces, but recently we see more and more business relevant data also flowing into Dynatrace. And while we at Dynatrace provide a lot of great analytics capabilities with our dashboards and notebooks, we see that a lot of our customers have invested into their Power BI, using Power BI to run analytics, and now they're asking us how can they leverage the existing investment in Power BI but also get the rich data from Dynatrace into their reports. I'm not the Power BI expert, but I brought somebody on the show today who has done a webinar with me a couple of years ago. Imran, welcome back to the Observability Lab. And I know there's some exciting news because I think we are the first Dynatrace or the first observability vendor that has a native integration into Power BI, pulling data from Dynatrace Grail into Power BI, and we want to now see this in action.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Andy. I'm very glad to be here. Again, like as we did another show a couple of years ago. So very happy to bring this news to all of our customers and anyone using Power BI natively now. They can use Power BI to connect to Dynatrace, and especially in our Grail Data Lakehouse. So yeah, we'll go through it and see what all is possible to do.
Perfect. And then you also have this launchpad here on the playground. So folks, remember everything you see today, all the relevant links, you can find them into the description of the video, including this launchpad. It's available for you so that you can follow the steps from Imran easier. Go ahead and show us what you've done.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for joining again and watching this video. So for Dynatrace, especially in our new platform, when we talk about the observability, true observability really needs two components. You need actionable data set and the ability to do something with those data sets, especially in this day and age now with the AI and LLM taking over pretty much in every industry vertical. Executives, they are looking at and saying, okay, how can I use AI to drive better value for my business? Now, with those comes some challenges, especially around the usage of those LLMs and the different semantic models that are being used, the cost, of course, associated with those different prompts that are being asked by customers. So Dynatrace already does a great job of providing those AI observability. And on this demo today, we'll be using that data point to connect to Grail and bring those AI observability data otherwise that are not easily found or can be gathered for customers' usage. So on this particular launchpad, you can kind of see this is an example of the Power BI report that I already built. We'll go over that, how to connect to the data. But there are some prereqs for this Grail to Power BI, Power BI to Grail connector. So the prereqs are, number one, you have to have a SaaS environment. This is only going to work for SaaS customers. If you are in managed, please look into this managed to SaaS guideline as to how you can convert to SaaS platform. Or if you are using Azure primarily and you want to have a native tenant, especially for viewers who are new to Dynatrace or just want to try this out, feel free to use this link to get a free account from Dynatrace, whether it's Azure native or from Dynatrace particularly. Now, once you have the Dynatrace tenant available, so I'm to take a little bit of background. Previously on our lab, our observability clinic video, we were using Dynatrace's API to pull those data, which is still fine and great, but with API calls, there are some challenges. You have to know which API endpoint you are going to be using. You have to know your API tokens and providing permission, managing all those tokens. Whereas with this particular connector, it's going to follow your typical IAM policies or your SSO that you have already integrated with Dynatrace. So you can be rest assured that anyone connecting to Dynatrace using this connector from Power BI, they're only seeing the data, only retrieving data that they have access to. So you can have full control of what data points your users will be using or how much data they should be allowed to capture. So this is an example IAM policies that you can control in Dynatrace's account management portal. On the supported products, this particular connector is available for Power BI desktop. You can also use it on Dataflows. I'll show you some examples in a few minutes as well. We also have documentation ready now available from the Dynatrace documentation and also from Microsoft sites as well. Some of the resources that we'll be using, they are linked right here on this launchpad, so you can easily go to that, whether it's some of the dashboards that we're looking at, or a tool like how to write your DQL or learning DQL using Dynatrace's notebooks, dashboards, problems app, or the security attacks that are coming into your platform, so all of those. And at this point, I'd like to really thank our extended team at Dynatrace for getting this to a reality. I know a lot of our customers, they've always asked, can there be a connector for Dynatrace so we can bring all this data to Power BI. So a special thanks to Gordon, Tamak, Danielle, and Jay, of course, from our Partner Alliance team for getting this to a reality and getting this to GA. And of course, thanks to Microsoft for this amazing partnership. I think we'll only grow from here. So at this point, let's go to the AI observability, because especially this data point, where is it actually coming from? So let's take a look at that in Dynatrace first.
I also very much like that you're using a very relevant use case. Obviously, you can bring any type of data into Power BI, as I understand, any type of DQL query can be used, but you're obviously using one that is very top of mind of everyone. And we've announced a while ago our observability capabilities when it comes to LLMs and AI and large language models. So really great that you chose this particular use case.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for the context, Andy. Okay, so on this particular dashboard, what we are doing, it's primarily pulling in data for OpenAI, and looking at this data point, you can see all of your data, so service health, performance, how much it's actually costing, prompt caching, so how many cache hits are there, average time saved, and then also some of the quality of those different token consumption from each of the model. Now, it's not limited to just OpenAI, so Amazon Bedrock or other platform, those are all available. So once you log into this Dynatrace's Playground tenant, all of you who are watching, you should all have access to this. It's not just from this video, but you can come in, modify your DQL. So for example, right here, this is showing the top 10 expensive prompts for, and these data points are coming to Dynatrace either via OpenTelemetry or using Dynatrace's One Agent. So these are already available in Dynatrace. So at this point, you have your query. I'm just going to show quickly, for example, this particular table, this is the DQL query that we have to generate this table. Now, if you wanted to get these data points with something else or from other platform, it could be really challenging. That's where you just really copy this query and then plug it into the Power BI connector, and voila, we have the data there. So just to add this context, this is the data we'll be using, one of the data points for this Power BI report for the demo today. So let's go to the Power BI report at this point, so we can everyone can see what it's like. Awesome. So this is the demo report. We'll also share this template for you on our GitHub channel. That way, you don't have to get started from scratch. You can use this, plug in your particular environment, or keep using this Playground tenant, because all this data you are seeing, these are either from Dynatrace's demo environment or the Playground tenant. So first of all, these data points, you can see this is Dynatrace's observability for AI. All these data points we are pulling in from the Dynatrace dashboard that you are seeing, or Dynatrace Grail. And so now you have this continuity. You or your team, they're using in Dynatrace, they have certain views, they perfected the query, so they know exactly what analytics they are getting. But it could be that now you have some other auditing requirements or compliance that you have to take this data to other platform, in this case, Power BI. So there we can use Dynatrace's query language, DQL, to easily plug this data into Power BI. So first of all, before I go to any of these data points, these are just to show you the possibilities of the different data points that you can collect. Let me show you that connector, the amazing connector that Tomac and the team built. So when you go to get data right here, I'm just going to search Dynatrace. There we go. And right here, you can see Dynatrace Grail DQL. We're going to be pushing the latest one or the production version. Right now it's showing beta, but it's really just for the couple months here. So let's go to connect. And all you need at this point is your Dynatrace tenant URL and the DQL you want. But if you don't have any DQL, we're going to give you some prompts or data sources that are typically used, so you can also use that. I'm just gonna copy my URL quickly so we can show everyone. So here's the Dynatrace tenant URL for our playground tenant. I'm not going to provide any DQL for this version, so just hit OK. And once it goes through the connection, you will have to go through sign in if you are logging in for the first time. And then right here, as I mentioned, if you don't provide any DQL, then it gives you some pre-filled tables from Grail, whether it is business events or our events table, logs, spans, any of the data points that you need or could think of, that will be available. In here, by default, it's limited to only 1,000 records. But if you wanted more records, I think this particular connector lets you pull in up to 1 million data records with one query, which is huge amount of data if you're wanting to just export it to something else. But for this one, let's just go to events, and I will say, click this, transform data, and then it's going to take me to Power Query Editor. So right here now we have all of these data points. Now this one, as you can see, without doing really anything or even providing a DQL for that matter, I'm already getting all the events data right here. I can do certain transformation if I need to from this point to get, for example, these affected entity IDs, the entity types, and so on. But let me show you something else. For example, right here, let's go to audit events, because this is one of the things we have heard from our customers. They need to see who's logging into Dynatrace, who's doing particular actions or changing some settings. So as the enterprise observability team member, this could be really important for that individuals. Or other data points like licensing, consumption data, metrics, problems, for example. But right here, the DQL that I provided is really just this. I just said, fetch system events from last 2 hours and filter the events to audit event. So really simple as for the query. And right here, you can see then all the different audit events that we have collected for this time frame.
Cool. That means every DQL query can just be simply used here, because that's really just, as you said, any DQL that you see in an existing dashboard that you can extract from one of our out-of-the-box apps, you can just put it here, and then you can get the same data in Power BI as you have in Dynatrace. Yeah, that's nice.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, especially for this type of use cases, oftentimes I would hear, yeah, we have this internal compliance requirements. We need to show all the Dynatrace logins we see in a week or in a month.
Yeah.
So these type of data points now is really easy more than ever to put it anywhere, whether it's extracting to another storage or pulling it to a Power BI report, dashboard. It can be now easily done. Some other examples that we can go over or common ask from other customers we have seen before, metrics. So right here, you can just provide your metrics that you need. So I'll show you the query, so right here. And again, these type of data points like the query, you can easily just copy from Dynatrace as you are building those charts or the different generators that we have. So you don't necessarily have to know everything about writing DQL. A lot of those are already available, and also in Dynatrace platform, our Dynatrace Copilot can also help you write different DQL queries to help and expedite this process.
Yeah, and then so folks, if you have any dashboards and there's a chart on it that you like, you can just say copy paste that DQL behind the chart, paste it in here, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of the things we have previously focused on is bringing problems data and doing further analytics. So right here, you can see I'm pulling in all the Davis problems. For this particular demo, I just said limit to only 50 problems if there's any active in the last 2 hours. And these are the ones that we can find in the last 2 hours for this environment. These events. So this is what I want to especially focus on. As different vendors or different use cases are coming up for our customers, uh, tying the data to the business value. So we're seeing some performance issues. We're seeing some availability issues. Okay, that's fine. We have the visibility, but what is it actually impacting? How is my business being impacted? What's the revenue loss for that availability impact or the synthetic problem, whatever the case may be? So that's where adding business events can really come in and tie those and bridge that gap for our customers, especially on an enterprise level. Sometimes we hear that, okay, if I don't have this service running, this microservice running, per hour, I'm losing this amount of dollars or euros, like whatever the currency may be. And looking at these data points, so you can truly merge all those in Dynatrace. You have all of your joins, all the data transformation done in Dynatrace. Now you want to take this further and pull it to other data points, and that's where this type of use cases can come in and really help. I'm gonna go back to the Power BI report because I have some views already built. So for example, this one, the observability for AI, Amazon Bedrock, OpenAI. So I have both of those models data right in one report. So I can see the trends of my cost and the response time for different prompts. I can see the prompts that the users are using and how much it's actually costing my business, and also the response time for those. There are some of the responses that are being returned for those, like whether it's actually returning the right data or not. So all of those can be viewed here. This one I'm just showing the most or the top 10 or 15, but you can get any amount of data point that you need.
And this was exactly the data that we saw earlier in the beginning in the dashboard in Dynatrace,
Correct.
where you copied the DQL, and that's basically now all in Power BI. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you can see like right here, something was happening and took a lot of, especially on the cost side of things. Um, Another use case is threats and exploits observability. So think about all of your applications are running, especially in these cloud environments now. More and more services, applications, they are hosted in cloud. But the security, of course, are also at that point becomes really important to see, okay, what are some of the malicious actors? Where are they coming from? What are their IPs? How often I'm getting impacted? How often these services are being attacked, for example? So all of those things are possible with Dynatrace. So once you have the data points, then you want to, of course, all these data points, you can have the same views or further analytics in Dynatrace for the drill downs. But if you wanted to just get some data points outside, share it with your maybe another solution that's specifically for security analytics, you can do that. So bringing in things like what's the finding, the title of that, if there's any vulnerability, public vulnerability that's associated with that, the location they're coming from, whether the severity is critical or non-critical. And then also Dynatrace has the capability to block certain attacks, whether it's a code injection, SQL injection, SSRF, some of those. So it can be already blocked even before it impacts because Dynatrace is inherently having visibility on the code level of your application can do some of those actions for you. But here, this is just the last 24 hours showing this data, the trend, how many attacks we have had for our application, and so on. Another use case, and I think this is a pretty useful one. So oftentimes, Andy, we hear our customers, they have this goal of getting everything onboarded to Dynatrace. Maybe it's 2,000 servers, and then out of them, 500 are from non-prod, or they're split out into multiple applications. So one thing we would hear often is, okay, how can I track those deployments? Of course, we have great views in Dynatrace as well, but internally, if you have another CMDB that you are tracking, or for executives, then writing this DQL, so really is just going to our host entity table and pulling all these data points. So I know exactly when the hosts are coming to Dynatrace, what their deployment methods are, or sorry, the monitoring methods, whether it's full stack, infra only, foundation and discovery, or if something is like a cloud instance, for example, different services, whether or not they are currently running offline, if something happened. So all of those can easily be tracked in and pulled in Power BI as well.
And I think you mentioned the use case then sometimes is that while we can show all this data in Dynatrace, if large organizations have other systems of record like a CMDB, they may pull all this data into Power BI and then combine it there because that's just their tool of choice maybe. And so we make it now super easy to get the Dynatrace data in Power BI as well. Yeah, that's a nice use case. Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. Yeah, so things like planned versus actual type of data points. How much hosts I wanted to onboard in my plan versus what's the actual amount I onboarded, whether I'm meeting those targets. If I need to go and talk to my teams to say, hey, let's get onboarding with Dynatrace. And lastly, just this view of log analytics. So as you know, Dynatrace is an observability platform. So logs, metrics, traces, events, business events, like all of those are just different data points in Dynatrace Grail. So for logs, primarily, I don't think it's a very common use case for Power BI that you would want to pull the logs data. But if someone wanted, on top of looking and reviewing this data in Dynatrace, they can also pull the logs data and extract it, just provide the DQL and put whether it's a specific log record for a certain time that you are investigating, or just in general showing the error and the warning logs, for example, this particular chart here.
Cool. Yeah, I think as you mentioned, the use cases I think are very specific to everyone's needs, and this is why it's great to see that we have this flexibility. Now we have this connector where you can pull any type of data from Dynatrace easily into Power BI. And you mentioned we might be the only observability vendor in the space that provides that easy integration with a native integration into Power BI, because we understand that while we provide good analytics in Dynatrace, you may want to do certain use cases in a tool where you also have a strategic investment like Power BI that allows you then also to connect the Dynatrace data with any other data that you have. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So at this point, I know we have covered how to get the data to Power BI, the new Dynatrace's Power BI to Grail connector that's available. And there's one other thing that I want to call out, especially using Dataflows. So if you have Dataflow, or if you are using Dynatrace Microsoft Fabric, for example, then those data points can also be imported to Power BI using this connector. So I'm going to go to my browser just so I can show this. Let's go to my Power BI service. Okay. See. And then Dataflow, there we go, Dataflow Gen2. Right there, I can just say, okay, go and create one. We'll call it Dynatrace Grail, create. So it'll be similar way of connecting to Dynatrace, but from Power BI service. So you can build your reports. So right here, then we say get data from another source, and then we just look for Dynatrace, and let's get rid of that. There we go. Dynatrace Grail DQL.
So that means for me that is not familiar with Power BI that much. Earlier you showed us the desktop version where you were pulling in data, and now this is the SaaS version of Power BI basically, where you can also pull in just the same data from Dynatrace through the same connector. Cool.
Correct. Yep, and other use cases that could be like if you're building an app in Microsoft Power Platform and you want to get some data from Dynatrace, I think that's where this could be used. I already have some of those connections, but just to show everyone, so it's similar to what you saw earlier. You gotta provide your Dynatrace environment URL, the custom DQL if you have any, or just use the generic ones, and then it will be creating a new connection, or if you have one already, and then I don't think you're gonna be needing any gateway, but it's up to the customer and then how they want to set this up. But at that point, it's really just going through this organizational account and sign in. Again, just to reiterate that this will take the user's SSO integration that they have with Dynatrace or the authentication method for the Dynatrace login. It will follow the same exact login methods that's available for Dynatrace login. So no other API token or other authentication method that has to be used.
Cool.
So I already have some of those built, and matter of fact, those are the ones I was using to, so I'll go back to Power BI Desktop quickly. This particular portion for the AI data, I'm actually pulling this from my data flow connectors that I have. So I'll go to Power Query Editor just to show quick here. There we go. So the source, you will see that it's coming from Power Platform.dataflows. And then from there, I picked which data points I want. But from Power BI Desktop, it would be similar to, if you go to that, and then Fabric or Dataflow, you can just look for that, connect, and right there, because I already have mine set up, I can go to my workspace, and then there we go, Dynatrace Grail that I already built before. So once it connects, so this is connecting from my local instance to Power BI SaaS instance. So it could be a few minutes. There we go.
Cool.
So right here, these are the two data tables, data connections that I had built in Dataflow. All right.
Awesome. And hey, this is all available now for everyone. I think you mentioned it still has the beta label on it, but basically everyone can use this particular Power BI connector integration, assuming that they have a Dynatrace SaaS instance.
Correct.
You highlighted this earlier. The only thing you need to do is configure a connection, point it to a Dynatrace SaaS. Then through IAM, you can also configure on the Dynatrace side what type of data you're really allowed to query with this connection. So you're on full control. And also you showed so many cool use cases, whether it's AI observability, the security use case, the host deployment, I like that a lot, and also log analytics, right? There's so many things I'm sure that people can think of if they are organizations that are also using Power BI, and now you can get all the data from Dynatrace very easily through the native connector.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that we should mention, or what's the road forward? Where do we go from here?
Just a quick call out. I think the beta label there, that one I think we should be getting rid of probably in whenever the next Power BI release for this connector is, so probably next month or so, or even later this month when the new one comes out. So I would recommend if any one of you is using this connector, let us know, comment on the video if you are using, if you have any issues. But following, so I'm going to go back to our Launchpad quickly. So you will have access to this Launchpad, so all the resources that we are sharing from our Playground tenant. We'll provide those links for you as well. So if you have any questions, let us know. And this particular connector is supported by Dynatrace, and of course with Microsoft as well. So I would say go to Dynatrace's documentation. If you are getting things started, you have some questions, so not just the video, but also this documentation that walks you through the steps of getting the connector working, whether it be it's from Dynatrace or you are looking at from, I think this one will take me to Microsoft link. There we go. So right here, it also walks you through all the instructions, even with screenshots of step-by-step guide.
Cool.
So at this point, I'm glad that we were able to walk through this. I know it was long coming. I'm really glad that we now have this connector fully built and ready natively in Power BI. So hopefully we'll see what our customers can do, and hope to hear some of the feedback from them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people are excited. So folks, follow the advice from Imran. If you have questions, leave a comment wherever you see this, whether it's on YouTube or whether you see this on LinkedIn. Also feel free to ask questions on the Dynatrace community, community.dynatrace.com. There we have a discussion forum. For now, Imran, I say thank you, and I'll see you the next time.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.